recording now? Yes, we are recording. Okay. So first of all, Gitvoch and getting there, Motzei Shabbos. Being I just started recording, I'll just read the Sichos Haran again. Rabbeinu says in Sichit Gimel that there are Anoshim Ksherim, there are Elecha people. Oiv de Hashem, she'en lehem parnasa, they have no parnasa. And they have great pressure and confusions from that. And Rabbeinu says this is good for the world. It's a benefit to the world. And he says that there are very precious diburim that are coming out dafka specifically when somebody is confused. And he says there is the difference between confusions. He says like there is a slumber, a sleep of nevuah, like it says by Avram Avinu, v'tardamo nafla al Avram, and there is a slumber of shtus, of nonsense. Tadema bilbul adas. Tadema is a silliness of the mind. And then there's Sichir Daled, in which Rabbeinu says, "Ani mekana me'od ish kosher." I envy greatly a person who is a ish kosher. When somebody who's serving Hashem. And Rabbeinu says, "Kinidme," because it seems like that person, Shoylech ben Adam, here goes a person, in dakin v'karkoshes ve'evorim kishar kol olam. He has, innards, and intestines and organs and limbs like the rest of the people. Ve'afal pichen be'emes, but when you dig underneath, he's a totally different Indian, totally different Metzias. Ki ish kosher yakar me'od, because a kosher person is a very, very precious reality. Ashoyle. How fortunate is that person? And it seems to me the way that I read the Sichos, that the explanation of the first Sicha is inherent in the explanation of the second Sicha. A person who is an Elicha Yid, a person who is a kosher Yid, a person who follows the Torah, can sometimes feel like, I don't get this. I'm trying to do what Hashem wants me to do. And things seem to me turn on their head, to go against me. It's like, I don't understand. In Kriyat Shema, it says, I'm going to give you rain on time. Everything will be available. Everything will go in order, seems like. And I go, or I try to go, in the way of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and things go haywire, or seem to go haywire. And I get pressured by these things. And when it says specifically about Parnasa, but it's not just Parnasa. It can be Shalom Bayis, it can be all kinds of different things that a person has problem with. And Rabbeinu gives a hint in this Sicha 14 that an Elicha Yid is a very, very precious inyan, but the preciousness and the nature of an Elohid is totally unfathomable. Rabbeinu says, when you look at it from the outside, you look at Elohid from the outside, he looks like he's going around, with limbs and sinews and innards and whatever it is. Rabbeinu B'Chavana uses, the most almost animalistic aspects. It says dukim v'karkashes. Talk about innards. Usually it refers to the digestive system. And then he says in other limbs. Notice the very physical aspect of it. And Rabbeinu says that when a kosher yid has confusions, especially confusions regarding parnasa, he says he's doing a great favor to the world, because at that point in time in parnasa, he says, Rabbeinu says that there are very precious diburim that come out dafka when a person is in a state of confusion, a state of pressure, a state of distress. And it's an interesting point that one needs to ponder. The Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to call upon Him, but it's more than just that. The Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to call out to Him. The Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to cry out to Him. And this is something that one can feel pretty uncomfortable about. One can feel uncomfortable because, it's not befitting somebody like me. I need to have genteel, polite intercourse with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, in which, I sit there and pour my heart out and ponder, like the thinker of Rodin, like this, like something very mechubadik, something very aesthetic, something very elegant. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to cry out to Him. Now, a person cries out, in order for a person to cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it has to be one of two things. Because for a person to cry out, it comes out of either one of two states of mind. It could come out from a state of mind, when a person wants to control people with anger. Usually a person sees it in his house. His father used to control everybody with anger. A person sort of like identifies being a man, being a father or whatnot, with screaming, with enforcing. There's a great amount of trepidation and fears, and a great fear of losing control. So a person starts enforcing his will, or trying to enforce his will, with an iron fist, of anger. Come here. Come here. What is it? I called you. What did you do? Come here. Right now. A voice that is steeled with uh, under the surface anger. That anger is a false solution for the great fear of losing control, as well as imitating your father. That's the way that your father used to do things. So you also, this is how you're being a father, this is how you're being. Of course, the biggest problem with that is that it works only while your children are very small. At a certain point in time, they grow up and they realize that you are, as they say in Texas, you're all hat and no cattle. In other words, you can scream and you can this and you can that, but you know, you don't carry a stick. And how long can you continue that? So at a certain point in time, you know, no amount of anger works anymore. And the angrier you were trying to enforce your position, as it were, the further away they get. And then at a certain point in time, they come back and they become a carbon copy of what you were. Try to control people with anger and so forth and so on. But there's another kind of crying, of shouting that the person does. And that is when a person is in distress, when a person is in pain. The difference between these two states of mind, where a cry, where a shout is generated, is that the first one, the bad one, is one which is generated, is which is it's a supposed solution, a false solution, a solution that does not work for great lack of self-confidence, of fears. You figure that if you control everybody and everybody will walk in line, and somehow your fears will subside. And of course, it doesn't happen. But the second cry, the one that comes out of confusion, the one that generates, the Rabbeinu calls, generates diburim yakarim, precious diburim to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is a cry that stems from behind the seichel, behind the intellect, behind the mental faculty. It's an expression of pure ratzon, of pure volition, of pure will. And it's this kind of, for lack of a better word, of visceral calling out that the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants you to reach. That the only way that you can actually get there is if you take away, you put your mind aside, and you just call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You scream, you call out, you shout to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Your intellect, as it were, cannot be involved. That may be why Rabbeinu says here that it comes out of bilbulim. It comes out of confusion. Confusion means your intellect does not have the kalim to make sense out of this jumble, tumbling tsunami of reality coming your way. And you can't crest the crisis with veteran ease. You're all confused. You have to resort to something which is primordial, which is before. Machorei Dvarim, as it were, before the beginning. It's very interesting. Bezat Hashem, we'll talk about it again during Elul. Bezat Hashem, before Bezat Hashem, we'll go to Uman for Rosh Hashanah, Bezat Hashem. Hashem should help us, Bezat Hashem, to get to Uman to Rosh Hashanah. The Mizmor of Hashem Oir V'Yishi is one of the most peculiar Mizmorim of Tehillim. It is comprised of two parts. One part is talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu like in the third person, and it's praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem Ori V'Yishi Lo Ira, whatever it is, I'm not afraid. Whatever it is, I'm going to be flooded. I'm going to be attacked. I don't worry about it because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there and everything else. In the very middle of that mizmor, suddenly it starts with Hashem Marabutzara. How many and varied are those who oppress me, and it becomes a singular first person communication. The first half, which was like, check HaKadosh Baruch Hu out. Look at it. I mean, nobody can touch me. Nobody can come close to me. The second part is just a cry, a desperate cry out, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, save me, save me, save me, save me. And at the end, it says, Lulei Hashem Shayalanu. If it wasn't the HaKadosh Baruch Hu that was to us, and it ends by Kavel Hashem Chazak v'yavetz Kavel Hashem. Hope to Hashem, strengthen, and hope to Hashem again. What does mean Lulei Hashem Shayalanu? If it wasn't the HaKadosh Baruch Hu to us, ... and what? It doesn't say, like, if it wasn't that the policeman showed up on the scene at that last moment, the robber would have got me, or whatever it is. I mean, the end is missing. The result, if it wasn't that Kadosh Baruch Hu was with us, and that's it. This is where he stops. He should just hope to Hashem, strengthen and hope to Hashem. What's going on here? And why do we say this dafka before Rosh Hashanah? Chodesh Elul. Because Chodesh Elul, L'maisa, is the month before the creation. When you're talking about Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, Ori V'Yishi, Kadosh Baruch Hu is my shining light. He's my saving light. He's nobody can touch me. This is when everything goes right, when everything goes well. But what happens when things get fouled out? When Bilbulim come around? When I take a look at my past and I see the wreckage of my past, the things that I did during my lifetime that have caused what seems to be an irreparable damage. There's no way I can fix this. What do I do then? The answer is you go back to before the beginning. You go back to before the intellect. You go back to Elul. Rosh Hashanah is when reality starts. Elul is pre-reality. What happened during pre-reality? Pre-reality is a state of tshuva. Tshuva kadma la'olam. Tshuva came before reality. When I get to a state where I just can't handle it, the answer is you get back to before the intellect. You get back to before tshuva kadma la'olam, and you call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's an amazing concept when you come to think of it. When Moshe Rabbeinu went and performed, the Makkos on Mitzrayim, and he asks Paro, when do you want me to take this off? Prove me, challenge me. I dare me. When do you want the frogs to be taken away? When do you want the locusts to be taken away? So Paro says, for tomorrow, for whatever it is. And what does it say next? Moshe Rabbeinu goes out of town. Vayizak Moshe el Hashem. Moshe cries out, he screams out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? This whole thing is planned by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This whole thing was played out in War College, to the nth degree. There were war games. Everything is ready. We know exactly what is going to be done. You're going to beat Paro to a pulp. You're going to ask him, when do you want this taken away? He's going to say, and bada bing, bada boom. That's it. It's done. Yet Moshe has to go to Kadosh Baruch Hu and he has to scream, he has to cry out to Kadosh Baruch Hu. To what? To take out the Makkah. To take that plague that Kadosh Baruch Hu sent him to smite Mitzrayim with. What you learn from this is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to come to him and communicate with him before Brias Olam, before your intellect, before the knowing allness that I have. And the only time that this can happen in a normal set of circumstances, unless you actually have the seichel to go to Kodesh Baruch Hu and start screaming. By the way, this is a very common Breslover conduct. When they go to the field, they just scream out to Kodesh Baruch Hu. It gets you to a state that is so deep, that is so primordial, that is so visceral. You communicate to Kodesh Baruch Hu from a place that is totally devoid of any intellect, that is totally devoid of all the stories that you made up for yourself, all the masks that you have been wearing. You just call out, I need you. It is in and on itself a wonder totally of its own. What Why does a Kadosh Baruch Hu Bichlal need us to call him out? I mean, to call out to him. It's an amazing thing. This is Yichud Kushabi Shchintei. And Dafka, he wants us to strip out, just to strip off all the facades, all the make believes, all the the pipe and the intellect, all the take it off, take it all off, and get the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And this is the kind of dibur that Kodesh Baruch Hu wants from whom? From El Chayidin, from people who are kosher Yidden, because that situation given to somebody who is not focused on avodas Hashem is very, very likely to result in despair and a person falling off from avodas Hashem b'chlal. There's a mashal that the Medrash use that, why do tzaddikim have to go through whatever they go through? He says he says like it akins to a vase merchant, a clay vase merchant, jug merchant. It says when he shows the buyers the quality of his wares, what does he do? He takes the jug, whatever, and he knocks on it to show how strong it is. So the measure says, which jugs does he knock on? He knocks on the jugs that he knows that are strong. I mean, what's the chachma if you take a jug that he doesn't know what it is and he's going to bang on it, it's just going to crumble? What kind of a demonstration would that be? Kadosh Baruch Hu hits on the jugs that those jugs are strong. Kadosh Baruch Hu knows that they are strong. Because you have to understand that there is a tzaddik in each and every one of you. The very same way that the tzaddik is suffering for the avarice of the world, and with the agony that he goes through, whatever distress that he goes through, he atones for the world. The same thing applies to you. Me? Well, man, you got the wrong person, man. That's not me. That hasn't been me. I don't know. What are you talking about? No. Rabbeinu says you should know the minute that you join the fray, the minute that you become one of the people of the tzaddik, the minute that you're in, everything that goes around you, whatever it is you go through, the trials and tribulations that you go through, and the confusions you go through is a big tikkun for the entire world, because most of the world don't have an idea of what the tzaddik is, what the Kadosh Baruch Hu is, and what's going on. Today, it is even not that uncommon for people who come from Breslov families to basically go through the motions. They don't even know what do I really need a tzaddik for? I had a conversation with a person I really like, and we were talking about the Maisa of the exchange children that we learned together. And I said about going up the tree and leaning on the schos of the tzaddik. And he said, "Do you really feel that?" I said, "I sure as heck do. I sure as heck do." I said, "Take a look." I said, "Now explain to him the reason why it is so difficult for you to lean on Rabbeinu's koyach is because Rabbeinu is the tzaddik, is the El Chayid that can actually rectify your neshama in this world and the next one. That's why it's so difficult for you to actually come and believe in him. Look how easy it is to believe that how special Moshe Rabbeinu was, how special Avram Avinu was, how special Yosef HaTzadik was, how special the Baal Shem Tov was, what a great tzaddik the Noam Elimelech was, what a great tzaddik the Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchever was, the Baal Atanya. With them, there's no problem. There's no nisayon almost. You're going like, wow, forget about it. This is the light of the 7 days. Rabbeinu Baal Shem Tov, Rabbeinu Arizal, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. But when it comes to Rabbeinu, suddenly you have difficulties. Lean on his koyach. Why? Because it's real. Because it's real. Because he's the one tzaddik who's relevant to where you are now. And as we already learned in Sichos Haran, that whenever it is the kedusha rises, the inner tuma also rises. As long as the kedusha makes no waves, the averis make no waves. The minute that the kedusha comes in and makes a statement, immediately the tuma makes noise. Look how easy it is for the precious, sweet Chabad Hasidim to have a Emunah in the Rebbe. No problem. How come? The reason is because it's not really Emunah Tzadikim. He tells them what to do. They believe that he is the Rebbe, he is the boss, he is the commander. V'zeh in the entire Chassidus Chabad, there's no dibur of the tzaddik at all. Chassidus Chabad doesn't speak about the tzaddik at all. The tikkun of the tzaddik says the Baal HaTanya never spoke about this. There's no problem. Chabad is amazing. The limud of Chabad are amazing. But it's not the tikkun of Yana Shoma. That's why they can be shlichim in Thailand and anywhere and subsist and exist. If the tikkun of their neshama would be dependent on that, they wouldn't last a week. Surrounded all this tumah, a week they wouldn't last. Only what? Beseder. Chazal is what you would, Chabad is what you would call the logistics force of Hashem's army. Precious, sweet, amazing. Kishboch will love them, Mashiach will love them. They have a remarkable resurgence of Talmidei Chachamim that specialize in halacha, which is wonderful to see. But the tzaddik that is mesaken and nefoshet, this they don't have. So there's no problem to believe in. The point is that when you come to the real tzaddik and suddenly he says, you feel, you don't feel, you this. Why does it rise up? Because this is your nisern, as the Rebbe says in Torah, hey, you should test it out and find out when you have a suffix, when you're bored with what Rabbeinu says, what Rabbeinu wants you to do, with the image of the tzaddik, with the belief in yourself that you are El Chayid, and what you're going through is a tikkun ha'olam, you have a bechira. Whose fault is it? Is it the fault of the tzaddik? Or is it me? That I have muddled my mind to the point that I'm being pushed outside, and be mevatel your mind and cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bullshit, cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbeinu says you can learn to. Rabbeinu says you don't even have to scream with voice. You can scream without a voice. It's a very good thing to go and make his way to this and scream, even inside your head, silently. But scream to the point that your head is about to explode. Reach down deep. Because there come diburim, from there come diburim that are precious, that are pure, that are clean, that are tikkun for the entire olam, let alone you. B'ezrat Hashem, Hashem should help us all. Should all be able to, B'ezrat Hashem, have emunah in tzaddikim. Emunah in tzaddikim is not just emunah Rabbeinu. Emunah in tzaddikim is emunah in yourself. That everything you go through is a tikkun, not just for you, but for the entire world. Because you are part of this huge enterprise, which is the avodah of the tzaddik. You're part of it. Very few are. You are. So you have a problem with parnasa. You have a problem with shlom bayis. You have a problem with chinuch habanim. You have a problem with whatever it is. Go to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and cry out, with voice or without voice. But cry out and cry out and cry out. In the very beginning, you'll feel like, what on earth am I doing? But do it. Rabbeinu says this puncture, the Ma'atevni brings in the Makifin. It brings it to a whole new level and brings brand new levels to become your Makifin. It's a tikkun the entire world, because an El Chayid like you, like each and every one of you, is a dover yakam. It seems you're just normal human beings. You know, you're going out with dinners, you have wife issues, children issues, parnasa issues, health issues, whatever issues. But Rabbeinu says you are dover achel legamra. You are a totally different mitzias. A mitzias that cannot even be defined with the crude instrument called words. Your value is beyond words. It cannot be even defined. Hashem should help us with that Hashem. And Yetz Hashem, we'll see you all on Monday night, with the share of Sipur Mesis, with that Hashem.